How's the day been going so far?
Crazy busy, bro. Just always moving around, focusing on my work and driving to the gym right now.
Yeah, I mean your last fight was quite a while ago. It was last September in your opponent's like home area, his home turf. So, how did you feel the fight did play out? You obviously lost a close decision, but did you believe you did enough to win that fight? And did you believe maybe that the fact that he was in his home area played a factor into why they gave them the judge's decision?
I mean, with my experience with mixed martial arts, I feel the way I look at things, I think there's a lot of the judging don't really understand what's going on. They see a lot of, like, I have no idea exactly what they're judging, but based on octagon control, based on a 10-9 point system, based on damage. It's the eyes. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't lie. You look at the fight. I mean, it's not the first time I got robbed. I understand that he was throwing low kicks, but every time he would tag me with a kick, I would respond with a strike to his blow to his head. But I did a lot of head damage. He probably got me some leg damage, but ultimately, obviously I won the fight hands down. I knocked him down. You know, I stuffed all of his takedowns. I mean, if you go back watch the fight, you'll see that I should have won that fight unanimous. So it's really, but it's not the first time I got robbed. It's a weird thing with mixed martial arts. Judges are not the best at it.
Yeah, I mean, you said you had a lot of other close fights in your career. Is there any others you felt like, maybe you did enough to win, but it was another situation, kind of like the Jamie Malarkey fight?
100%. I mean, you can look at, they have articles about worst robberies in the mixed martial arts in the UFC. Look at a fight with Yancy Medeiros.
Hmm.
I fought him in Vegas, and also Alan Patry, New Jersey. This is why I've been fighting in UFC for 13 years, so I had a lot of, I got over 20 fights. So, I mean, there's a numerous occasions where I felt I should have won that fight. But again, I'm more of a defensive fighter. I take my time. I'm not a volume fighter. I'm not looking to. I'm not throwing volumes. I'm sniping my opponent. My style is I'm a counter striker. I'm more defensive, and look at my face. Look at my statistics. I have one of the highest rates of defense.
Yeah. And obviously, you've been using that very well. You had a solid three-fight win streak in 2017, 2018 with an extremely notable win, especially now, over Jesus Pinedo, who's gone on to the PFL and has won $1 million over in their organization. So the fact that you didn't get re-signed by the UFC when you were still beating guys like Ignacio Bahamondes, a PFL champion, and beating them unanimously in the case of the Jesus Pinedo fight has to give you confidence to know that, you're still beating really, really good guys, and you're still at the top of your game, beating some guys that are still going on to have great success.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, look, ultimately, to be honest, I feel like it's a little bit of bad luck, a mix of bad luck, bad management. I don't know. I mean, like unfortunately, nobody wants to be negative. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not finding excuses, but ultimately, it's like who in the business. You know what I mean? And you look at that's what I'm trying to say, right? Guys who have a 4 loss streaks in the UFC to go to the PFL, like off the top of my head, I know him very well because he used to be a training partner of mine, and I'm from Montreal. Oli Aubin, he was in a 3 or 4 losing streak in the UFC, and he got signed to the PFL, and he won $1 million. I mean, let's get real. PFL is not the same level of competition. The PFL guys are not the same competition as within the UFC. But I mean, it's strange to me how it works. I've been actively looking for right now. From my understanding, mixed martial arts is overly saturated. There's
Yep.
a tons of fighters. There's a lot of fighters going on. What the way it looks to me, it's like number one, it's popularity. It's like now you have all these like veteran guys fighting in bare knuckles. Bare knuckles. I see a lot of
Mhm.
guys going there. I'm not a big fan of bare knuckles. It just doesn't make any sense. Like I feel like we're going backtrack. We're backtracking in history of martial fighting. Its evolution is athleticism, intelligence. You know what I mean? It's more of a sport. It is combat, but but that's a different subject. For me right now, I'm just aiming to get a good contract. You know, if it's in PFL, if the UFC decides to re-sign me, uh, if there's a last minute replacement, injury, whatever it is. But you know, ultimately, you know, it's a business, right? Politics. I have no idea. Maybe I'm not. Maybe because I'm not really a fan favorite, or but it makes no sense to me because I'm very exciting. I never go for a takedown. I never try to hold my opponents. I never try to grapple my opponents. I don't try to stall. I'm very active. I like to use a lot of my movement, my karate, taekwondo background. I spoke to Karate Combat League. I just think because I'm a Canadian, there's a lot of, you know, work visa, you know, getting a permit, a work visa so I can travel and fight in the US. I guess there's a lot of logistics, right? So right now I'm staying positive. I'm trying to make a lot of interviews. I'm doing a lot of videos, creating content to showcase my style. You know, I'm 39 years old, but I'm at the gym beating up guys all the time at the gym who are in their 20s, right? So and I had some injuries. I suffered some injuries, which kind of I get it, but it happens. You know what I mean? I had like 7 surgeries in 2 years.
Wow.
So
What
but
what were they for? Your like your legs, your arms, like what was the
just
specifics?
just like fractures. I got two hand fractures, a torn shoulder ligament, ACL ligament, a fractured bone, a lot of like ligaments, torn ligaments, and fractured bones, which makes sense because we're in a combat. It's combat, right? So we're always forcing our bodies. We're putting a lot of stress on the body, and we're doing a lot of high repetition. And most of my injuries were accumulation. You know, what I mean that happened in the gym, and that it just occurs that the body just breaks down. But you have to adjust, you learn, you overcome your injuries, you overcome all these setbacks, but I'm still waiting for a contract. PFL, I mean, I know on my record I have 2 losses, but again, that's, I wish I can try to fight that, but it takes a lot of manpower, it takes a lot of money to try to switch a judgment.
Yeah. And you were talking about possibly looking at like a karate combat or something like that. I do believe that would 100% fit your style and your counter striking and your career throughout the UFC has kind of been built towards more of a karate striking type of a style. Is that just the main reason? Is they're not having any events in Canada as one of the like limiting factors?
100, yes, I think. Well, yeah, not only correct, not only in Canada, but also I think they're mostly in the U.S. If I'm not misunderstanding. If I'm correct, I'm not sure. I think most of the events are placed in the U.S. and I'm not really sure who's the Canadian that fights on that. I never seen any Canadians. Do you know anybody who's Canadian that fights on in the organization?
I'm thinking of one guy. I'm forgetting his name. He has a pretty popular YouTube channel. I think he's like a lighter guy. He's a champion in one of those weight classes. But it's only like one Canadian I really know in their like entire organization, really. And he fights in the United States.
Yeah. So there you go. I don't know if there's any good managers out there who actually who actually can deliver. I worked with different guys, and they're empty promises. So at this point, I'm just doing it myself.
Yeah. And so like of course the UFC has gone back to Canada only one time this last year back I believe in January. If they do come again, are you just is that your main goal to try to get on a Canadian UFC card back in the UFC?
Yeah, I told Sean Shelby, I messaged him, I say, listen, I mean, it's for me. I gotta stay active, right? I can't really
Yeah.
wait on the UFC. Changed a lot. There's a lot of fighters in the UFC. If you look at the average fighter in the UFC who signed with the UFC fights maybe once or twice a year.
Mhm.
I mean, unless I mean, it changed a lot since 2010.
Yeah. And of course, if you were to get signed by the UFC, there's no like opponent you want. You're focused on getting any fight that you possibly could get.
I mean, yeah, of course. I actually wanted to fight the veterans. I mean, guys who are like, who have my experience. I mean, the guys who have been in the UFC for 13 years. Guys like, what's his name? He fought recently, and he actually was doing good. He's winning Jim Miller.
Mm.
Jim Miller, guys who have that experience. I would like to fight experienced guys who have that veteran title.
Yeah. And I'm gonna wrap this up really quickly. You said you had a new website coming up, and some
So
merch on there as well.
yeah, well, I'm with millions.co, bullwear. I'm working on my merch, nice design. If you can, I'm wearing one of my shirts right now, very inspirational, motivational. You can go on millions.co, go under John Makdessi Bullwear, and also johnmakdessi.com. Anybody who is listening, the younger generation guys who need some coaching advice, I have a whole online platform where it's virtually, you don't have to be in Canada. I can train you, I can coach you, on the net, in person and virtually. So something that I created when COVID hit. So, go check out johnmakdessi.com, go to millions.co and get some bull merch.
Excellent, man. And I want to end it on one more thing: is your fight back against Donald Cerrone, like maybe 8 years ago. Not a lot of people remember this fight. Not a lot of people put the respect towards yourself for taking the fight. You had to win the pay-per-view right before that, and you stepped in for Khabib Nurmagomedov and fought a legend of the game in Donald Cerrone. So the fact that you were willing to do that, the fact that you're still looking to fight, still looking to stay active is a good thing for you, and a big respect that the fans should definitely have for you.
100%. I took the fight 2 weeks notice. Actually, I fought. It's funny that you mentioned Donald Cerrone. I fought Donald Cerrone at his peakest, and he was
Yep.
fighting. He was ranked second in the UFC, and he was fighting Khabib, and Khabib got injured. And I
Yeah.
finished the fight. I was eating ice cream. I was chilling. I didn't even train. 2 weeks notice, they told me to go fight Donald Cerrone at the co-main event in Vegas, and I broken my jaw. And if I did not break the jaw, I would have continued the fight. But most importantly, my health comes first. So that's why I give him the fight, and on the second round, I'm like, what, it's all good. You know what I mean? But hands down to Donald, he was a tough competitor, and he taught me a lot.
Yeah, man. I mean, I really do hope one of these organizations does give you a shot, because if you're willing to step in and fight a guy like Cerrone, if you're still willing to step in on short notice opportunities, you're looking to fight in any organization and put on a good striking show in your return. I do hope you get a fight soon, and we get some John Makdessi news as soon as possible.
100%, man. I'm at the gym every day, brother. I dedicate myself to the sport, so I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a contract.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for talking with me today, and I wish you luck on getting signed as well. So yeah, John
Thank you,
Makdessi,
brother.